It's now approximately the 6-month point after the original delivery, opening of the box, setup, and stock, that's S-T-O-C-K, of the Cigar Cabinet Style Humidor. As you can see, we are currently at 62% relative humidity, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's at the top of the cabinet. Down at the bottom of the cabinet, we are at 64% relative humidity and 65 degrees Fahrenheit. There is a reason for this, and it would have been nice on originally getting this set up to have had some good advice. Now, Gear Challenge is actually all about taking responsibility for our own actions, and also taking responsibility, full accountability for any tests or evaluation that we might engage in. And in this case, I can only accept full responsibility for the original setup of this humidor, as well as trying to get it stabilized. The original instructions that I had been given have been followed, but I've learned that those instructions are a little off, and again, I accept full responsibility for having set up the humidor in the way it was done and in stocking it as quickly as I did. Would have been nice if and some great advice has been chimed in by Eric, Dalton, John, and Screen Shriek, or I'm not sure, he seems to shriek quite a bit. Would have been nice if that would have been added within, the first 10 to 15, 20 days. I think comments were made at the 14-day mark, and of course, well after that, the humidor had stabilized, or appears to have stabilized, based upon all the instruments readings that we've had. Now, since that time, I've also developed a little bit of a taste for martinis, and absolutely a phenomenal little drink. Couldn't have stood that drink about 10 years ago, but it's really taking on its own. Now, defer just a bit, and getting back to this issue with the Cigar Humidor, I've been out of area from time to time over the last 6 months, and luckily have not encountered any problems upon return. And I do a full inspection of the humidor every time I do return. About 5 to 6 days ago, I opened up one of the drawers of the humidor, and that'd be one of these drawers here. And actually it was this drawer that contained a couple of extra cigars, and it was the secondary drawers from the bottom of the drawer section. And at that time I discovered a mold issue. Now, cigar beetles has been mentioned as a possible problem because of the high temperature reading that we were originally getting at 76 degrees Fahrenheit up to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. I had originally been advised that up to about 80 degrees would be okay for avoiding mold or any other complications, but additional research has revealed that we really want to keep this down to somewhere below 75 degrees Fahrenheit for the temperature of the interior of the cabinet. I have been able to do so, as much as I am aware, uniformly, after about the first 20 days or so, I believe is when we originally got that stabilized in temperature, as well as about 70% to 71% relative humidity. Now, again, there's not been a beetle problem at all. I've inspected each and every cigar, barring the ones that the boxes are still sealed, but all boxes that can be opened have been checked, and no evidence of cigar beetles. Very fortunate, very lucky in that regard. But again, about 5 to 6 days ago, I encountered a mold issue. The cigars that came out of these two drawers, which by the way have been mold free for the last six to 5 days. The rest of the humidor has been inspected, and the walls, everything else is mold free as well. However, these are a few similar cigars that were in those drawers. These 3 cigars had experienced mold themselves, and the mold was evidenced by a cotton-like or a cotton candy-like covering that, in the case of this Cohiba, was near the head of the cigar and just below the wrapper, or the the wrapper on around the cigar itself. On this cigar, there was a little bit of this white, again, almost like a cotton candy-like covering just between the band, and I called it well, I'm talking about the band. It was just above and below the band on the Cohiba, and on this Dharma, it was near the foot of the cigar and near the body of the cigar. And on this cigar that has the cedar wrapping, it was at the head of the cigar, and there was a real puffy, almost cloud-like evidence of white mold near the foot of this cigar. That was cleaned by way of an alcohol solution with hydrogen peroxide 50-50, dabbed on with a clean towel to wipe off the residue, and then these cigars were placed into this Ziploc baggie in order to isolate them from any other cigars, and they were placed into a freezer. That has been the case for the last approximate 3 days, 3.5 days. These cigars have been out of the freezer and still kept in isolation in the sealed Ziploc, and I'm awaiting to see if there will be any evidence of a return of any of that mold. Now, it's my belief that it's mold and not any other substance, just based upon some research that I've been able to conduct and the evidence of what I've been able to see. Now, more critical than that are these 2 cigars, these CAO Vision cigars. They were in, I believe it was this second from the bottom drawer on the right side. And these cigars had evidence of some real nasty mold. It's my belief at this time that these cigars may have actually had mold when they were delivered, and these had been delivered approximately 2 months ago. Now, this mold has it has that puffy-like texture, but it's got a green hue to it, and I'm illuminating that with additional light. The green hue to me means that these are not salvageable in any way, and in addition, I wanted to keep these cigars to see how they would develop before I would just simply destroy them. I do not believe that they are salvageable in any way because of the green color of the mold, and again, they are much more covered in the mold material than any of the other cigars had been. The other cigars were almost 10% of that cover of mold. Now, just earlier today, I checked the humidification levels of the Magna 2.0 Cigar Oasis humidification device, and I was checking that because the limit, the indicators on the side were indicating that it was very low on water, and of course we're talking distilled water. I added water, but then elected to take a little closer look. I was looking through the side of the body of the humidification device down here in the second level. I had originally installed that humidification device in the lowest area of the humidor. I had moved it up to the level just below the drawers, and you can see the wires back there, because I thought that that might help with a little more even distribution of airflow. Once I popped the cap off of this and took a closer inspection, and there are some photographs that I've taken, I noticed that there are black spots on some of the beads. Now keep in mind, it was my understanding that it's best to keep these beads completely saturated, completely, looking very much like fish eggs. And here we've got a little more evidence of the black spots that I'm talking about. You can see them there in the center, and here again in the center of that image. It's not completely uniform, but obviously it stands out. It stood out to me, and I can only personally identify it as mold. I've done some more research, and there are indications that this may not be mold, that it may be something else. However, it's my suspicion that it is mold that I have allowed to brew in the Cigar Oasis Magna 2.0 humidification device, because I have kept it too saturated with distilled water. Apparently, some additional research by a well-respected individual from, I believe, 2008 had indicated that it is best to only introduce distilled water at approximately a 60 to 75% level of cigar beads. Now, we're not talking about cigar gel, we're talking about cigar beads, which we've talked about in a previous video when I had originally started with this humidor system. And again, I'm just going to kind of zoom in on some of these small spots, these specks of black that have developed on these cigar beads. These were not previously there. I want to also add that the color of the beads when held up to natural light was a slight brown. Now, of course, the table below this has a brown and tan color. A lot of the brown and tan that you are seeing now on these beads is not necessarily bleed through of color from the table, but it's actually, some of those beads have a brown or a tan-like hue to them as well, which are in evidence in the still photographs that I took earlier. As I understand it, and again because of some additional research I've done, these beads may be recoverable by way of introducing them, by drying them out, and then possibly removing the beads that have black specks, or the black specks may dissipate as well. This can be done by placing the beads on a tray in an oven up to somewhere between 200 degrees Fahrenheit and 225 degrees Fahrenheit, and possibly as high as 250 degrees Fahrenheit. I plan on experimenting with this to see if this will work and salvage these beads. If it's not the case, then these beads will be simply replaced. I've also taken a swab of the interior of the Cigar Oasis Magna 2.0, and this swab here has been placed in a sealed Ziploc baggie, a clean sealed Ziploc baggie, and I intend to have that tested to try and determine what type of mold this might be, and of course if it is in fact mold. And that will be, if we can get that determined, I'll bring that up in a future reference to this humidor. So that's where we are now. I've stumbled around a little bit. Thanks for the input, gentlemen. I believe that you're gentlemen. I'm not sure if there's any ladies that have been involved in any responses. But we'll be pressing on and moving through this development of this humidor, and hopefully have better success. Again, I've inspected all of the cigars, and I've not found any evidence of nefarious Beatles, and I have not found any further evidence of mold. And I'm very thankful for that, because even these tubes have been opened and inspected on a daily basis over the last 5 to 6 days. And again, I've not found any evidence of mold. I've removed the drawers, inspected the interior of the drawer caddies, or the drawer openings, and again found no other evidence of mold on the surface of this humidor. So we will see how this develops, and thank you very much.